Hello everybody, my name's Helen Noble, celebrant of Surrey, founder of Swansong and co-founder of the Healthy Marriage Success course. Welcome to my channel. I give you weekly tips and tricks of all things ceremonial, as well as sometimes the bigger picture and hindsight and things that I've gathered along the way. This week, I'm talking about how long the ceremony should be, what your expectations are, how it might look, and a bit of a timeline about content. What should go in? How long will it last? Timings of the ceremony. So let's dive in. Now, if you just do a Google sheet, how to organise a wedding, how do I plan my wedding, step one, step two, crib sheet from various magazines, from websites, there will be plenty out there that you can just have this crib sheet of how to do. And in that, they will have ceremony and they usually slot in 30 minutes. It's usually half an hour. Now, that tends to be correct. I would say give yourself about half an hour. But just be mindful it's about half an hour, and that is the average, and that is based on the general. So if you are thinking, oh, I just want short and sweet and nothing too fussy, we don't want anything too grand, then realistically, your wedding is going to be about 20 minutes. And if you're sat waiting for the bus for 20 minutes, feels like forever. But by the time you've walked up the aisle, taken a deep breath, said hello to your spouse-to-be, had your bouquet taken, or you're the groom, for example, and your bride's come up and you've taken a breath, or your groom's come up and your legs aren't wobbly, and you've done your hello, that in itself takes a couple of minutes. 20 minutes flies by. I get inquiries going, we just want a simple ceremony, nothing grand, 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, 20 minutes will fly by. And when we do the rehearsal, I stick with it, I stick with the brief, and then we do it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's like just 20 minutes. I was like, that's 20 minutes, including you walking in and walking out. And that's what you wanted. And they're like, oh God, yeah, no, it goes, actually, can we have another reading? Can you say a bit more about us? I was like, absolutely, I would love to. And then we can fill it out and it can be your sort of standard half hour. I did a wedding the other day and I'd sort of say, oh, well, that's really nice. There's a bit of Celtic heritage. So actually, maybe we could do this. And the groom said, oh, I'd quite like to do an oath stone. It's like, oh, lovely, not done one of those in a while. So we did the oath stone and we did tying of the knot and we did a reading and we did. And she also had the registrar, so she got married and then had me. So the overall ceremony, including the marriage, was about just under 45 minutes. So about 45 minutes, give or take. Because you had a few moments for the signing and the handing over from the registrar to me. And had she just got one of those things that you just download, she wouldn't have known that she could throw everything at it. She wouldn't have known that she can do a hybrid option, i.e. she could have the registrar and the registrar hand over to me and then I take the wedding. She wouldn't have known that she could do all these little Celtic ceremonies that her husband was quite keen on, and we did. That was lovely. It's great, because there is just this template. So I think my message is the template is a basic, is an average, is the norm, and won't tell you what else is out there. Even if you're, say, following a wedding planner and the wedding planner is like, give yourself about half an hour. Of course, if you want to have a celebrant, then factor that in. And it's like one little sentence that you have to snatch. But what is it you want to factor in? Your wedding day, the wedding is the heart of the day. The ceremony is the wedding. Speeches, dinner, it's the party. It's all great. I love it. But it's not the heart of the day. The wedding ceremony itself is, we're inviting you to the wedding of. It's the wedding. You know, don't make that the basic bit. Please don't. So I'm guessing the pitfalls that you want to look out for is when you are going to, because you probably will, download how to plan your wedding crib sheet from wherever. It will just give you the basic, half an hour. It will also give you the norm, so the not thinking outside the box, the not taking into account your values if you want a bespoke ceremony, the not taking into account that there is something else. They will say on this crib sheet, book your venue, book your registrar. And then when you get further down the wedding planning and you educate yourself a bit more and conversations happen and questions start getting put to you, like, are you having a celebrant at all? And you go, oh yes, when do I book the celebrant? It's like, and venues might say, oh, well, book your registrar and then book your celebrant. What they're not making clear is you don't have to book your registrar for the wedding. You can do, means you're paying twice, and you're calling them out of their place of work. You're calling them out on a Saturday, perhaps, unless you're getting married at 3:00 on a Tuesday, at the registry office. But if you're calling them out of the normal hours, calling them out of their normal place, then they're only a touch less than me, and you don't get anything bespoke. So you need to think about your values when you're thinking about your timing, because what is important to you? Is it everyone coming together? Yes, it might be. Is it that you want to elope? So it's not about everyone coming together. You just want to have us do a wedding and then go to the party, which will affect your timing. Do you want to involve people? Is everybody there that's coming on that marriage journey with you, that you're bringing them with you forward on that life journey? Do you want them to get involved? Would you like readers? Would you like songs? Would you like someone to perform? It might be, obviously, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know I've got a background in theatre. So I quite often do weddings of people that are in the industry. So they might be directors. I did a couple of years in telly. They might be cameramen. So they're used to that performance. So the ceremonies can have a lot of content, which I love, obviously. But they also have people come up and share. So I do weddings also quite frequently on people that don't want too much of a fuss, want a really relaxed vibe, want to feel safe, want to feel happy, want to feel themselves, want to feel like it's their wedding. And so sometimes I'd say maybe 2 out of every 10 weddings I do will have the speeches in the ceremony. Because once they walk down the aisle, they're like, we just want all the ceremony stuff done. We just then want to just have the bands, have the food trucks, and just party. And trying to get them back to then do the speeches is a whole nother thing. So you have all the ceremony content within the ceremony. Sometimes we've cut the cake, we've done the speeches. I've only done one in 11 years where we've had the first dance, and it was so nice. They danced themselves down the aisle. It was wicked. But that was once. It's one time. But you can do it. Mostly the weddings I do are about half an hour, and they do have some spiritual content in that it's not just two people meeting and getting married. It might be that there is a philosophy that they follow. It might be they're Jedis, who knows? It might be they've got a sense of something bigger than themselves, and therefore they want a reading that's a bit more philosophical, and they've chosen a reader that is a bit more philosophical. But that reader's really special and has said, oh, can I say a few words before I launch into the reading? I'm like, yeah, of course you can. Obviously, check with the couple. So that each reader, say you have 2 readers or 3 readers, when I do academics, I also do quite a lot of academics. They're English professors or they are doctorates, that they want to explain and educate, quite rightly, why they've chosen that reading and who they are and what it means to the couple, and just a bit of a backstory and a content, which is fantastic. So they would come up and introduce them, obviously give them a little intro, and then they would say a few words before they did their reading, and then everyone is all lovely, 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 and then you have some cuddles, and then you go and sit back down. So just that one reading could take 5 minutes. And if you've only sort of wanted in your head, oh, I just want a little 20-minute reading, 20-minute ceremony, then that's up, hello, bish bash bosh, down. And you think, oh, you might have waited 18 months for that. Sure, you want to put more in it. But if that's what you want, that's what you want. I can do it. I have to reel it in a little bit, but I can do it. And then when we get to the rehearsal, more often not, it's gone in a flash, and they're like, oh, actually, yeah, can we have a few more? And I'm like, yes, you can, no problem. But it tends to be half an hour of the actual ceremony, and then give yourself 5 minutes for the coming in, give yourself a couple more minutes for the the presentation, the kiss, the walking down the aisle to whoop, 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 whoop. But if you're wanting a really tight schedule with the caterers at the bottom of the aisle, with the tray service ready to give you a glass of champagne, or the ushers to have nipped out and got the confetti ready, that will be another 5 minutes. So timing wise, if you're going to just download a crib sheet from somewhere, because they are everywhere and they're very easy to find, my sort of plea to you, or with hindsight, is to say, before you do that, think what a ceremony means to you. Think what is important to you and why you're doing it. Coming together, declaring in front of each other, or sharing, or you're a wordsmith and you love words. And with those, if you've not heard of it, those 5 languages of love, the love languages, if words of affirmation are really important to you, then you might have 4 readings. I've had brides open the wedding by reading the first reading themselves. I love that. She was an English professor. So she's like, I want to read the first reading, please. I was like, of course you can. And she introduced it, and she said why she was doing it, and yada, yada, yada. So before we'd even got past the kind of hello, welcome, we were kind of 10 minutes in, because we'd done a whole big story. She'd come in, she'd done a read. It was all good. It was all lovely. And so that ceremony itself was about 35 minutes. We also, me, or celebrants in general, but me, it might be that you want to mark those people that aren't with you. So whether they can't make it, whether they're overseas and just unable to get here, whether they're poorly, whether they've passed on. And it might be that we just want to welcome everybody in the room, but also welcome everybody that's with us in hearts, minds and spirits. Maybe we want to light a candle. So you don't want to rush that. You want to take a moment breath. And just, I might bring the candle to you if you've got a very fabulous, fancy big dress, or you might want to come over to the candle and do that ceremoniously. You don't want to rush that. So that might be all of a minute, but it's a minute that counts. And it's a minute that you haven't launched into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So things to watch out for when you're downloading with regards to time is whether it's registrar or celebrant. A registrar will tend to only give you maximum half an hour, because they have other weddings to get to. You are not their only client that day. They have a superintendent. They will be booked for possibly an 11 o'clock. Then they'll be booked for a 12:30. Then they'll be booked for a 2 o'clock. Then they'll book for a 3:30, and they might even be booked for a 5 o'clock. So you are one of many, and they won't give you much slack. So you don't be late. You don't have alcohol in your breath. You don't muck about. You come in, you do it, and they go. And they are lovely, and it's very succinct. Experienced registrars are brilliant. They can hold the room. It's all very lovely. It's not something to consider, but you don't get much say on the timings. With the list that you download, they won't necessarily give you the option of a celebrant-led wedding. And so it's not on your radar until it's possibly too late when it comes down to your budget, or it's possibly too late when it comes down to your timings. But then who's it too late for? It's your wedding and it's your day. And if you think, oh no, I've mucked up the timings now, oh, I can't really do that. And it's like, well, it's your wedding, you can do what you like. It's fine. You just say to the caterers, oh, actually, we're going to do canapes at 2:30 and not 2. And they'll be like, okay then. And yes, it will jiggle everything down, but it's fine. It's what we do. So don't worry. Think about what you want. What does it look like? How does it feel? What are your values? What's important to you? And how can we get that into the ceremony? So with regards to timing, I would say one of the first things you do, perhaps even before you've booked a venue, is think, do we just want a bog standard bish bash bosh, or do we want space to create style, design, put our values in, make it about us, get a bespoke written script, have someone take it that we know? There are all these amazing things. Be able to say what we want, because I don't have to be completely politically correct. You don't have to submit your music to me. You don't have to submit your readings in case the word angel is in there. It's fine if the word angel's in there. It's not fine if that's the registrar. They cannot have anything that isn't. It can be romantic, it can be anecdotal, but it cannot be spiritual, or they cannot be seen to be supporting something other than the law of the land and a nice story. So think about that, because if you do want, hopefully you do want, a created ceremony that's bespoke, stylish, all about you, your values, all the lovely stuff that I do, then don't worry about time. It will probably be around half an hour. It might be 35 minutes if you have 3 readings, 3 hymns, and a signing. It might be 37 minutes. It might be just shy of half an hour if you don't want too much fuss. You just want a couple of readings, no group songs like hymns or anything. Come up, say some nice things, do some lovely vows and rings exchange, have a reading, have a presentation, and walk down the aisle. And that will be about 25 minutes. But then it might be you've got a massive wedding party. You're like, oh yeah, I've got 10 bridesmaids. I'm like, okay, you're going to need to either put the track on loop, or, because I really advocate live music, I will let the musicians know they've got quite a big wedding party. So just keep going until I give you the nod. Or it might be that if you tell them in advance, which hopefully is the ideal, you'll be able to choose a bit of music that gives you enough time for you and your wedding party to arrive how you wish to arrive, without it feeling rushed, because we've got nowhere else to be. Everyone has been invited to your wedding, so we are at your wedding. So don't worry about time. I've never done a ceremony that's over 50 minutes, even if it's thrown everything at it, i.e. registrar, 4 readings, 3 hymns, children getting involved, tying the knot, like literally everything. It was still under 50 minutes. So it just goes so dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum. There will be pauses when it's right to pause. There will be moments, and then there will be high energy that's a bit zip zip. So don't hold everything to that schedule until you have decided what your ceremony looks like. But for the sake of wedding planning, yes, give yourself a half hour with 5 minutes either side as a buffer. The caterers will know that, the venues will know that. They just know that roughly, as an ideal, it's about half an hour. But if you realise with hindsight, oh my goodness, I've just booked my venue and the registrar, But now I've realised what the registrar does and what they can't do, and what we actually want as a couple, because we're not just going to spend our engagement wedding planning. Maybe we'll spend our engagement preparing for marriage, which I hope you do, because I have a healthy marriage success course. So please do. So if you're preparing for marriage, through that, you will learn things like your love language and what is important to you. And therefore that will feed and enrich and just make your ceremony more gorgeous. And it might add a couple of minutes to your day. But it's a memory that lasts a lifetime. Everyone that is attending will come out going, oh my goodness, that was so you. That was so amazing. And you'll just feel brilliant. And you think, for the sake of those 10 minutes, absolutely nailed that. I don't want a 22-minute wedding. I'm quite happy to go over the half an hour, and you get all that extra. So to summarise, roughly give yourself half an hour for the wedding ceremony, but give yourself 5 minutes or so either side, because you want to include walking in and walking down and having space to enjoy it in between. It can go more, it can go less. We'll work through it, but make sure you've had a chat with a celebrant before you book your registrar, because there is more than one way to do a registrar and a celebrant. There's 3 at least. So in your wedding planning journey, one of the first things I would say do is have a conversation with me or one of your celebrants and work out what your ceremony looks like. And from that, we can work out the timings. But as a general rule of thumb, half an hour, give or take, is where you're at. Just make sure you get what you want. You'll only do that if you've had a chat with a celebrant. All right, hope that's helpful. Lots of love, and I'll talk to you next week.